Walk down the aisle of any major supermarket, and you are immediately presented with what feels like an overwhelming, infinite illusion of choice. Dozens of different brands of cereal, hundreds of different beverages, endless aisles of household cleaning products, and a massive wall of personal care items. But if you look closely at the labels and follow the money up the corporate ladder, that grand illusion shatters. Those hundreds of distinct, seemingly competitive brands are actually owned by a handful of megacorporations. Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Kraft Heinz, and Nestlé. And if you follow the money one step further, looking at who actually owns the majority shares of those megacorporations, the web condenses even tighter, pulling into a single, terrifying singularity. You might think your retirement account is perfectly diversified. You buy competing tech giants, you buy healthcare, you buy real estate, and you buy transportation. But behind the heavy curtain of the global economy, almost all roads lead back to a single monolith. Welcome to Case 015. Today, we open the massive file on BlackRock and the $10 trillion shadow. We will investigate how a single firm quietly bought a massive stake in almost everything you touch, and how an invisible network of servers in centralized data farms effectively manages the modern world. Today, BlackRock is the largest asset manager on planet Earth. They directly manage over $10 trillion. To put that astronomical number into perspective, that is roughly equivalent to the entire gross domestic product of Japan, Germany, and the United Kingdom combined. But to understand how they acquired this empire, you have to look at how it began. It didn't begin with a brilliant success. It began with a humiliating, devastating failure. In the mid-1980s, Larry Fink was a Wall Street superstar. Working at the investment bank First Boston, he was one of the brilliant pioneers who created the mortgage-backed security, the exact financial instrument that would eventually burn the world down in 2008. He was printing money for the bank, and he felt invincible. Then, in 1986, the market shifted. Fink's computer models were wrong. His department lost $100 million in a single quarter. He went from being the golden boy of Wall Street to a complete outcast. He was pushed out of the firm in disgrace. That massive, humiliating failure permanently rewired his psychology. When he founded BlackRock a few years later, he was completely obsessed with one single variable: risk. Larry Fink realized that the fatal flaw of Wall Street was its reliance on fragmented data and human ego. Traders were making massive, multi-million-dollar bets based on intuition, siloed spreadsheets, and incomplete pictures of the global market. They couldn't accurately measure how a crisis in one part of the world would physically impact a portfolio in another. So, BlackRock didn't just build an investment firm. They built a central nervous system for their money. They called it Aladdin, the asset, liability, debt, and derivative investment network. Aladdin is not a simple trading algorithm. It is a massive, proprietary risk management supercomputer. Housed in highly secure, temperature-controlled data centers in places like Wenatchee, Washington, the machine is designed to ingest millions of data points every single second of the day. It actively monitors global interest rates, geopolitical conflicts, satellite imagery of crop yields, shipping lane traffic, weather patterns, and shifting supply chains. It then runs thousands of continuous Monte Carlo simulations. It constantly stress tests BlackRock's portfolios against hypothetical disasters, asking what happens to the money if a war breaks out in the Middle East, if a pandemic shuts down global shipping, or if the tech bubble bursts. It was designed to answer one question with mathematical certainty. If the world catches fire tomorrow, exactly how much money will we lose? The machine became so brutally efficient and its risk modeling so incredibly accurate that BlackRock realized they didn't just have to use it internally. They could weaponize it as a software product. Today, Aladdin isn't just used by BlackRock. It has silently become the operating system for the entire global financial establishment. But the event that gave BlackRock the keys to the kingdom didn't happen in a boardroom. It happened during the greatest financial panic of our lifetime. We will look at the ultimate government mandate shortly. While BlackRock manages $10 trillion directly, the Aladdin system is rented out to their competitors. Major banks, insurance companies, sovereign wealth funds, and rival asset managers all pay BlackRock massive licensing fees just to plug their portfolios into the Aladdin mainframe to see their own risk. Because of this, Aladdin actively monitors, analyzes, and guides the risk for an estimated $20 to $25 trillion in global assets. It is a silent, emotionless algorithm that acts as the guardrail for the capital of the free world. But the true, terrifying supremacy of the Aladdin system was fully cemented during the darkest days of the 2008 financial crisis. When the subprime mortgage market collapsed, the United States government, the Treasury Department, and the Federal Reserve were completely blind. The major banks were holding billions of dollars in complex, toxic derivatives, and nobody in Washington actually knew how to value them. They didn't know which banks were solvent, which ones were hiding massive losses, and which ones were hours away from total bankruptcy. The smartest financial regulators in the government were flying the global economy with no radar, descending into a hurricane. So, the Federal Reserve did the only thing they could do. They picked up the phone and called Larry Fink. They asked to borrow his machine. The United States government effectively hired BlackRock and the Aladdin system to analyze, price, and manage the toxic assets of Bear Stearns and AIG in massive portfolios known as Maiden Lane. BlackRock was granted unprecedented, unrestricted access to the inner workings of the American financial system because they were the only entity on Earth with the computing power required to understand the damage. Overnight, BlackRock stopped being just a participant in the market. They had become the market's indispensable systemic mechanic. With the ultimate endorsement from the U.S. government, BlackRock's credibility and power exploded. But their true dominance over the corporate world, the reason they own a piece of everything you touch, was achieved through a fundamentally boring financial instrument, the Passive Index Fund, or ETF. Historically, investors paid high fees to mutual fund managers to actively research and pick winning stocks. But BlackRock, primarily through its massive iShares division, popularized the passive ETF. Instead of trying to guess which tech company will win the war, an ETF simply buys a tiny slice of every single tech company in the index. It is cheap, it is automated, and it is incredibly popular with retail investors and 401k plans. But there is a catch. As trillions of dollars of our retirement money flooded into these passive ETFs, BlackRock was mathematically forced to blindly buy shares in every major corporation in the world to maintain the balance of the funds. Because they manage these massive, automated index funds, BlackRock is now consistently one of the top 3 shareholders in nearly every major publicly traded company in the United States. They hold massive voting blocks in direct competitors. They are the top shareholder in Coca-Cola and the top shareholder in Pepsi. They own massive stakes in rival banks, rival pharmaceutical giants, and rival tech monopolies. This creates a terrifying new economic dynamic called common ownership. Imagine you are the CEO of a major airline. Your job is to aggressively compete with the other airlines, lowering ticket prices to win customers. But then you look at your shareholder registry, and you realize that your top 3 largest investors are the exact same 3 investment firms that own your biggest rivals. If BlackRock owns a massive stake in United Delta and American Airlines, they don't want a bloody price war. A price war destroys profit margins across the board. The incentive for those companies to fiercely compete against each other begins to silently evaporate. The illusion of a free, hyper-competitive market becomes a carefully choreographed dance, overseen by the universal landlord who owns the entire block. BlackRock is not a cartoon villain pulling levers in a smoke-filled room, and they are not an illegal monopoly. They are simply the ultimate winners of the modern data war. They built a risk system so massive and an investment product so relentlessly efficient that the global economy organically reorganized itself around them. The $10 trillion shadow provides a vital, foundational parable for the modern strategist. In the modern digital economy, the ultimate moat is not your brand name, and it is not your cash reserves. The ultimate moat is infrastructure, data processing, and distribution. If you want to achieve absolute market supremacy, whether you are building a software company or managing a portfolio, you do not try to pick the winning horse. You don't engage in the bloody, unpredictable combat of day-to-day retail competition. Instead, you build the racetrack. You create the underlying infrastructure, the risk models, or the distribution network that your competitors are absolutely forced to use just to survive. When you own the underlying system and you charge a toll for access to the data, it doesn't matter who wins the race. You collect your fee on every single lap. This closes case file 015.